when I'm going to go blind. So that was essentially what happened to me, and I've managed to continue to work and to obviously communicate and get out and about. But I'm very, very aware that that isn't the case for so many other people. And why am I telling you all this? Well, I think it's really an attempt to reflect the complexity sometimes with sight loss, the way that people manage it. The way I managed sight tests as I was getting less sighted was to avoid them, which really wasn't very sensible. And as I got older, I began to realize that actually one really ought to get in front of the optometrist and have a conversation. So in terms of now talking to optometrists and dispensing opticians for patients who are losing their sight, I would suggest that, for me at least, the ideal eye health professional is somebody, just thinking back on my own experiences and talking to others, the ideal eye health professional is somebody who's actually curious about my condition, who wants to take an interest, who's very aware of the impact that my sight could have on the family, on my social situation, my economic situation, my emotional situation, my ability to move around. It would be lovely if the eye health professional could talk about connectivity in a way. I had nobody that they could pass me to refer me to. I think patient support groups and others, there are a myriad number out there now. So a bit of connectivity would be great. A bit of chit chat about my general health and how it impacts on my own eye health. In fact, the last time I went to the optician, I had my cataracts out because I wanted more light to come into my eyes. And I went into that practice, and the lady who usually saw me wasn't there. So the guy who owned this practice grabbed me and marched me through and put me in the chair. And what he didn't do was ask me if I had an issue with shade or the noise in the practice, which was very disorientating. He didn't even explain to me the environment that I was sitting in. So when I went down to tie up my lace of my shoe, which felt loose, I whacked my face on this equipment that he'd moved round in front. So it would be lovely to have eye health professionals who can verbalize a lot to people who can't see or can't see anything at all, who can explain the equipment around me, who can reassure me, who can explain if they're coming in close or moving around or whatever they're doing. And he clearly hadn't read my notes properly. So that was just a little vignette, really. So there are a tremendous number of things that eye health professionals can do and can be. I'd also very much like them to be mines of information. And the reason for that is because I wish all those years ago that I had been given some kind of hope. Eye research, yes, was in its infancy, but throughout the years, research has been evolving so much. And there is an extraordinary world, and I wish I could hear this from eye health professionals. There is a world of real discovery and innovation and achievement out there. There's a lot of persistence. There's a lot of pioneering spirit. There are people working tirelessly to improve our understanding of the patterns and processes of disease, to improve treatments, to improve the rehabilitation of patients, to improve the identification and characterization of genes, and, as you will know from your practices and the equipment that's developing all the time, a lot of improvement in the diagnosis and detection of disease. I'd like eye health professionals to talk to me about the advances. It's incredible, isn't it, that you can go into an eye hospital now or a clinic And there's laser surgery and cataract surgery and corneal transplantation. And think of, you'll know this, the testing and measuring and monitoring equipment that's out there. The next generation sequencing that's now being used, the artificial intelligence that's coming through, the robotics, the gene therapies and stem cell research, and all the technologies that are developing. It really is remarkable. And I'd also like to be told as a patient, whether I am a child struggling to stay in education because of my sight, or somebody of working age who's struggling to retain their job, or an elderly person who's losing their sight and probably going to lose their driving license. I'd like to be told what the point of all this eye research is. And I would suggest that the point is that it's very much there to provide a much more cost-effective and efficient and sustainable and safe way of treating patients, and in a way treatments that have less side effects, that are longer lasting and therefore of more benefit. And unless we have more eye research, then we're not going to have all those therapeutic or more therapeutic targets for drugs to hit. We are not going to have the opportunities for earlier intervention by clinicians, and we're certainly not going to have the opportunity to monitor better the progression of disease, and we're certainly not going to know how best to treat individual patients with more personalized medicine. So that is really, I would say in a nutshell, the point of eye research. And it's incredible. I've been talking to primary sector and secondary sector professionals now for a few years, and there is definitely an amazing confluence now in the country of biology and technology and computing science, engineering and ophthalmic innovation for sure. But there needs to be more money and more investment into eye research to continue that head of steam. And I want to now just point to one particular technology which I think encapsulates what I've just said about evolution and innovation in eye research. And this is a remarkable device called the Argus 2, which you may know about. It's developed by a Swiss-based company called Second Sight, and they have over 290 patients who are walking the globe with a retinal implant. It's a retinal implant or a retinal prosthesis, sometimes called the bionic eye, and it is inducing a visual perception with light patterns. It's restoring some form of visual function. And believe me, talking to patients with this implant, and there are 10 in this country and many in the United States, in Canada and Iran and Korea and Europe and elsewhere, it's giving them a tremendous boost in their quality of life. It's actually allowing them to orientate and navigate and be a bit more mobile. It's allowing them, some of them, to spot objects, letters, to pick up things from tables, to even see landscapes and waves on the sea. It's a remarkable thing. I've been in touch with a few of these patients, and it's fantastic. There is data that's out there also showing that this device in the retina is stable for up to 10 years. And it works with a video camera, with a processor and a chip. And those images are processed and sent into the antennae that sticks out of the retinal chip and stimulates retinal cells that are still alive and sends that up to the brain. But the key thing about this device, and the reason I'm talking about it, is because it encapsulates for me what eye research is about. As I said, it's about innovation. It's also about integration. This is something that you can't just use on your own. You have to use it, for example, with your guide dog or your white cane. It's an integrated technology. And also, this is another key point, it requires a lot of therapeutic support. So you can't just have it put in and then you wander off and do your thing. There's a lot of support that's required, that's wrapped around the patient. My good friend and colleague Amanda Hayhurst is actually in the audience, who's representing Second Sight. So if you want to talk to Amanda, can you just stand up or raise your arm?